A routine cruise turns into a desperate fight against time as a passenger collapses in the middle of the vast ocean. Captain of the cruise ship, experienced but facing an unprecedented emergency. Ship's doctor and medical team, tense and resourceful passenger who suffers the heart attack. A relatable human story. Every second counts as the helicopter hovers above the ship, with the passenger's life hanging in the balance. Helicopter rescue crew, portrayed as highly skilled and determined. Before we dive into today's topic, make sure to subscribe to the channel to stay updated with all our latest videos. Don't forget to like and comment your thoughts below. I love hearing from you. The sun shimmered across the endless blue horizon as the cruise ship glided through. The calm sea passengers lounged on the deck, soaking in the warmth, and the laughter of families mingled with the distant sound of waves crashing against the hull. It was a day that promised nothing more than relaxation and luxury, but beneath the smiles, a tension was about to build that no one could have anticipated. Captain Harris stood at the bridge, scanning the horizon with a practiced eye. The ocean was vast but serene, yet he sensed a shift in the air, a subtle unease that made his hand tighten on the rail below the radar screen. A ping echoed faintly, a routine check of the communication systems. Nothing alarming, yet something prickled the back of his mind below. In the grand dining hall, passengers sipped cocktails and exchanged stories when suddenly a shrill cry cut through the chatter. A man clutched his chest and collapsed to the polished deck, his face pale and eyes wide with terror. The crowd froze in disbelief, panic rippling through them like waves crashing on rocks. The ship's doctor, Dr. Ramirez, sprang into action, his medical team rushing forward, pushing aside frightened onlookers. The pulse of the man was erratic, his breathing shallow. They immediately began CPR. The defibrillator was wheeled and hands moved with precise urgency, yet the tension in the air was suffocating. Each second felt like an hour as the waves rocked the ship beneath them. Captain Harris immediately contacted coastal authorities. The nearest helicopter was on standby hundreds of miles away, but emergency protocols demanded coordination, timing, and precision. The captain's voice over the radio was calm, but the stakes were unbearable. The crew below worked tirelessly, alternating compressions, monitoring vitals, giving instructions. Their faces etched with determination and fear. Outside, the wind began to shift and clouds gathered. The sky darkened and the once gentle sea grew restless. The captain adjusted the ship's course, trying to maintain stability for both the passengers and the medical team. The clock was ticking, and the thought that the helicopter might be delayed gnawed at him. The passengers on deck watched in helpless awe. Some whispered prayers, others clenched fists or held loved ones close. The reality of mortality pressed upon them like the weight of the waves against the hull. The scene was chaotic yet strangely unified as strangers shared a common hope for a life to be saved. Finally, the distant sound of a rotor reached their ears. A helicopter emerged against the steel gray sky. The crew on deck prepared the stretcher. The patient was secured with expert hands. The hoist team communicated through shouts and hand signals. The ship pitched beneath the swell, sending fear rushing through everyone as the helicopter hovered above, ready to perform a maneuver that demanded absolute precision. Part 1 ended with the patient barely stabilized, the helicopter poised over the deck, the wind tearing at the edges of clothing, hair whipping wildly. The fate of one man balanced precariously against the forces of nature and the skill of those who refused to fail. The helicopter hovered above the swaying deck, its powerful rotors slicing through the gusting wind waves sprayed up against the hull, and the spray misted. The faces of the crew below the stretcher swung gently on the cable, every movement measured and precise. Captain Harris barked instructions over the radio while gripping the rail of the bridge, his knuckles white. The crew on deck braced themselves against the pitching ship. The patient, strapped securely on the stretcher, moaned weakly, his eyes fluttering in fear and confusion. Dr. Ramirez crouched beside the patient, his hands steady. Despite the chaos, his mind raced, calculating the risks, checking vitals, adjusting oxygen. The helicopter's shadow moved with the ship as if it were alive, and every second that passed the storm seemed to grow angrier. The rotors whipped the air into a frenzy, and the cables groaned under tension, yet the rescue crew above remained calm and focused, each motion choreographed through countless drills. Yet now reality demanded perfection below. The deck passengers pressed against the railings, faces pale and glistening with sweat, some covered mouths unable to watch, others whispered desperate prayers. The wind tore through their hair and clothing, the noise deafening, yet a strange silence settled over their hearts as they collectively held their breath, waiting for life or death to be decided. In the sky above, a sudden gust rocked the ship violently. The stretcher swung dangerously. Captain Harris shouted warnings. The helicopter pilot countered every sway with minute adjustments, and the winch operator's muscles strained as he slowly guided the patient upwards inch by inch. The storm seemed determined to thwart them, yet determination and skill resisted its fury inside. The helicopter, the rescue team worked as one, their eyes sharp, their hands sure as they stabilized the stretcher, checking straps, monitoring monitors, every pulse a whisper of hope in the chaos. Outside, the helicopter tilted against the wind, spray lashed against the windshield. The engines roared and the rotors beat a rhythm of desperation, yet with each careful maneuver, the patient rose above the deck, lifted toward safety. Dr. Ramirez whispered words of reassurance and encouragement. Even as exhaustion and fear pressed down on him, he felt the weight of responsibility for this life, and yet hope glimmered as the stretcher finally cleared the rail and hovered above the deck. The passengers on board erupted in a mixture of gasps, cheers, and tears, relief washing over them in waves as the patient ascended higher into the safety of the helicopter. The helicopter banked carefully over the open sea, the pilot keeping a steady eye on instruments and horizon. The storm still raged, but inside the cabin calm and precision reigned. The patient's vitals slowly stabilized, oxygen levels held steady, and a faint but steady pulse brought quiet smiles to the crew, their training and courage paying off in a moment of human triumph. Back on the cruise ship, Captain Harris and the crew exhaled a collective sigh of relief, hearts still racing from the adrenaline of the rescue. The passengers clustered together, whispering stories of what they had seen, some crying, others hugging strangers in silent gratitude. The deck smelled of salt wind and hope. The memory of chaos transforming into courage marked everyone forever. The helicopter disappeared into the gray sky, carrying the patient toward the nearest medical facility. Dr. Ramirez stayed on the deck, watching until the aircraft became a speck of black against clouds, then turned to his team, offering tired smiles and nods, their exhaustion tempered by success. The crew slowly moved to check the ship, ensuring passengers' comfort and safety. Emotional bonds strengthened by a shared ordeal. The family of the patient arrived at the hospital, frantic and desperate, their relief palpable as doctors confirmed stabilization. Tears and laughter mingled as stories of heroism spread rapidly on phones and news reports. Social media captured the daring airlift video, going viral around the world. Strangers moved by courage of people willing to risk everything for one life. Captain Harris stood alone on the bridge as night fell, stars emerging in the dark sky reflecting on the water. He thought of the fragility of life, the bravery of his crew, and the extraordinary efforts of the helicopter team. Humanity shone brightest when challenged by fear. He smiled faintly, knowing that every training hour, every risk taken had mattered, and that one life had been saved. Through skill, courage, and determination, the passengers slowly returned to their cabins, some lingering on deck, watching the night waves, some unable to sleep as adrenaline ebbed, others silently thanked the universe for survival. Their minds replaying the heroics of the day the storm had passed, yet the memory of tension, courage, and hope lingered in their hearts as a story of ordinary people performing extraordinary acts became a tale they would tell for a lifetime. In the quiet of the ship, the crew gathered to debrief, sharing their perspectives, their exhaustion matched by pride. Captain Harris thanked them all for keeping composure under pressure. The helicopter crew received messages of gratitude from distant authorities, and every individual involved felt the weight of accomplishment. The story of one life hanging in balance at sea became a legend of heroism and teamwork. The waves rolled on beneath the starlit sky, carrying with them the story of courage, determination, and the thin line between life and death for the man rescued. The cruise continued its journey, but for everyone involved, the day would remain etched in memory, a testament to human bravery and the extraordinary lengths people go to save one another. The helicopter disappeared into the night sky, carrying the patient to safety. The crew exhaled relief, and the passengers slowly returned to their cabins. The storm had passed, yet the memory of courage lingered in every heart. Captain Harris stood on the bridge, looking out at the calm sea, knowing that in the vastness of the ocean human determination and bravery had made the impossible possible, and life had been saved. Asterisk.